What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Point2Point NHL Recap Show, Season 2, Episode 17. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Haverlack, and today we got a fun episode. We're going to be breaking down the Four Nations face-off, as that's going to get started later on this week. Before we get into all of that, though, Mark, how are you doing, man? We had the Super Bowl last night. I don't know if you were watching or not, but...
I did, dude. I had a bunch of bets on the game, so I was kind of dialed into it. Pretty disappointing, though, eh? I kind of had a feeling the Eagles were going to win, just because I feel like always, like in sports, when there's like the hype of something big happening, like a three-peat or something, like I feel like it just never ends up going in that direction. Like, I mean, there are instances where it does, right? But I feel like people just didn't really. I don't want to say didn't take the Eagles seriously, but I mean, they're pretty fucking good, dude. And, like, the funniest thing is, like, Barkley didn't even do that much, you know?
Yeah, like, Barkley, especially in the first half, he wasn't really doing that much, and the Eagles were, like, so dominant in the first half. I think it was really the Eagles' defense that was put on the show, man. Like, when you're going up against a guy like Patty Mahomes and the talent that he has, like, that Eagles' defense, what was it, like, 4 sacks in the first half? Like,
dude, they were all over Mahomes, phenomenal. Man.
Oh, they were all over Mahomes, yeah.
Dude, I literally won a plus 600 bet off of like Casey getting that last touchdown, because I had a plus 600 bet. It was a combo of Hurts and Mahomes combined for 6 TDs, regardless if it's running or throwing, and they were at 5, and then he threw that last one, so that legit made me win like a plus 600 bet. I was like, oh, okay, fuck, I'll take it.
You're probably laughing, man, but yeah, I don't know, dude.
I was looking at it, and I'm like, I don't think this is going to hit. Like, and then because they benched Hurt, or they took Hurts out at the end, right? Yeah. Too. So I was like, it has to be Mahomes if I'm going to hit this.
Like, I'll be honest, man. I always love the Super Bowl. I love watching it, but I think last night's Super Bowl for me ranks as like bottom 3 that I've seen in my lifetime. Like, yes, we like most of America and most of Canada, pretty much everybody in the world wanted the Eagles to win, right? But it's like, it still would have been nice to have like a close game where it was entertaining, where, to be honest, like the Eagles were just running away with it the entire time. And then, hey, I might get some hate here, dude, but I was not a big fan of the halftime performance. I know a lot of people love Kendrick. I'm not a big Kendrick guy myself.
I agree, dude. I honestly thought it was awful. I wasn't a fan.
Wasn't too high on it. You know what? We're a hockey podcast, so not a football podcast. So let's get into the hockey and talk about this Four Nations face-off that's coming up. It's going to be kicked off by Canada and Sweden on Wednesday, so it's coming right up. Let's start off with Team Canada, Mark. Despite missing his last 2 games, Sidney Crosby, he's going to be playing for Team Canada. He's the captain. And also Drew Doughty, he is replacing Alex Pietrangelo, who is out with injury. First question for you, Mark. Was Doughty the right choice to replace Alex Pietrangelo?
I don't know, man. I mean, he's got the ton of experience, right? He's still I don't know if calling him elite like still would be a bit of a stretch, but I mean, like, he's kind of up there as like maybe a lower caliber number 1 defenseman. The injury time is obviously like a huge question mark, considering how many games has he even played? Like 5 or 6? Like, yeah, I don't know. So the real game I watched him when he's been back, they played the Habs last week. He didn't look good, but I also was reading that like that was the worst game he's played since he's been back. Some Kings fans don't think he really looks the same right now. The thing with him is that like people are saying like, yeah, just bring him, whatever. He's going to be the 7th defenseman. Dude, he's not going to be the 7th defenseman. They got 3 righties and 4 lefties. They're going to put him as a 7th defenseman and put Sanheim out, and then you're forcing a lefty to play the right side? The one way I will contradict that is if it's Theodore, he plays the right a lot, but I still think I'd prefer Doughty in over Sanheim. I don't really mind him. I think he can just focus a lot on defense, dude. Like, I think if you put him on the 3rd pair, he's going to be completely fine. The only other person I honestly would have wanted over him is Uyghur. I think any other guy I would have, like, kind of still leaned towards Doughty. So I don't really think it's, like, a bad or the wrong pick, considering he's got the cups and the experience. But I guess just off of, like, more recency bias, and if it came down to my decision, I probably would have went with Uyghur. But it's not a bad choice, in my opinion, at all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think it's a bad choice. I would have preferred Uyghur just because he's been playing all year. He's been playing healthy. He's a bit more versatile than Doughty too, right? I'd say he can play both sides. The thing with Doughty that I think Team Canada is looking for is I think they're looking at it like if Doughty can play to ceiling, then it's for sure going to be the right choice. I think it's just a big question mark. It's that with how many games Doughty's played this year and the big injury he suffered in preseason, it's the fact that it's like, will he be able to be at his ceiling during this tournament? That's a big question mark, right? But if he can play at his ceiling, then I think it's a great choice. You mentioned Uyghur. Yeah, I think I maybe would have preferred to see him just because it's a bit safer of a pick. The other guy left out that could have maybe replaced Petrangelo is Evan Bouchard, and honestly, I think Doughty is the better pick there, just because, as you mentioned, the playing in your own end, the defensive reliability, Drew Doughty's a bit better there than Evan Bouchard. And when you look at this Canada roster, it's pretty clear that this management team is going for players that aren't just offensive players, players that can play on both sides of the puck. And Drew Doughty, for 15 years now, he has done that in the NHL. So I think it is a pretty good pick.
Okay, I have a question for you before we move on. Would your decision have been different? Say Sanheim was a righty, and they already had 3 righties, 3 lefties, so you could kind of go into the pool of you don't need to take a righty, you could take anyone. Would there have been a left-handed shooting defenseman at all that would have really interested you to take here, or not really?
Not necessarily, man. Like Chris Tanev, maybe.
He's a righty, though, too. I think he was in consideration. I think it was Doughty, Uyghur, and then I honestly think they were looking at Tanev for like a shutdown third pair role. One guy I don't think necessarily should have been on the team, but I think we should keep an eye on moving forward, and I seriously think he could be in consideration next year for the Olympics is Thomas Harley, dude.
Yep.
I seriously think he's starting to make some damage here and turning into like a low-key, like a lower tier, like a first pairing defenseman at this point. I think if he keeps growing, like he could even be there over Sanheim next year. I don't know.
Yeah, this is his first full year in the NHL too, so it's like we're just
second,
I guess.
He scored like 16 goals last year, I think.
We're just starting to see the start of him, you know what I mean? So it's like if this is where he's at right now, what kind of leap he's even going to take between now and next year's Olympics? Mark, what's your biggest worry for this team, though?
I feel like I'd be wrong if I didn't say their goaltending. I'm not. I'm more optimistic than others about it because it's just like you just kind of need one of them to get hot. But I mean, like at the same time, it's like if you end up getting down to your third guy, like you got lots of problems, right? If it's my call right now, to be honest, I'm going Aiden Hill game 1. I just think he's been the most consistent out of all 3 of them. He's had the success more recently as well. He's used to playing behind a good D-core as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I don't know. I don't really have a lot of concerns about the roster, dude. Like it's a pretty good roster. Yeah, you can nitpick here and there. Oh, they could have taken Scheifele. They could have taken Suzuki. They could have taken Uyghur. But like, I don't know. We'd be saying the same things if they didn't take fucking Hagel or like someone else. You know what I mean? I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I am so much more optimistic about Seth Jarvis on this team than I was 2 months ago. He looks fucking phenomenal recently. Yeah. And I think he could actually be a really good, like, energy third to fourth liner, killing penalties. Like, I wouldn't even be opposed to like having him in the lineup, like to start. Like he looks really good with Carolina recently. The other thing is like they've built this team more like a team, right? Like obviously Cirelli's not a fourth liner, but fuck, dude, I think he's gonna have a huge role in this tournament, killing penalties, shutting guys down. You know what I mean? But I think my main concern is definitely the goaltending. Like, is it going to be good? Is it not going to be good? Every other country's got better goaltending, I would say, kind of like down the depth chart. So you just got to get hot for a couple games, dude. Like, it's not like out of the like Aiden Hill's been hot before. Binnington's gotten hot before. It's not like it can't happen. It's just way less likely if you're looking at it compared to the other countries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. The goaltending for Team Canada, that's probably my biggest worry with this team. I think, of course, it would help out maybe if Logan Thompson was there. And
dude, like it's even like
Tom. He's been phenomenal.
Okay, here's a question. Would you... I think there's an argument to be said that all 3 of these goalies could not be there.
Yeah. for sure.
I think you could have taken Thompson, Blackwood, and Kemper and been okay with it.
Yep. Even Fleury, the way he's been playing this year, like we were talking about it a bit when the rosters were sort of being made earlier on this year, and we were like, man, like does a guy like Fleury, do you bring him? Like he's
As
a
a
veteran
third.
presence. He's been playing good this year. Even Cam Talbot, like there was some Cam Talbot talk at one point this year, and like would maybe he make the team? I think there's like with the Canadian goaltending right now, I think the overall landscape of the goalies, I think there's maybe one goalie that's in a bracket of himself, and that's a Logan Thompson right now. But that's also very recent, right? Like even
Yeah.
even when they were making the rosters for this team, we were like, yeah, he's got off to a hot start, but is he going to maintain this throughout the entire year? Now that he has, I think it's safe to say that he's maybe in a bracket by himself. And then I'd say like the next 5, 6, 7 guys are all in a pretty close bracket. Like I don't think there's a massive gap between any of those guys. Where like some of these other countries, like you have Soros, who's of course like no doubt the best goalie for Team Finland, right? Like I don't think Canada really has one of those guys, and that's sort of just where my worry is. It's like, yes, the 3 guys that they're bringing, they're all good goaltenders in the NHL. They can all get hot. They have had some good moments at times so far this season. But for me, it's just like, do I see any of those guys able to like steal a game? Like if Canada, US are playing in the finals, do I think one of those guys can absolutely like just steal a game and win it for Team Canada? Not necessarily. I don't fully believe in that. But overall, man, I am liking this roster. Like you mentioned that Cirelli, Bennett, Hagel line. Like that is a really good fourth line in a best on best tournament, man. They're gonna be physical. They're gonna be playing a lot of minutes. They're gonna be on the PK. Like that. Those are some important players that are gonna be here for Team Canada. And yeah, as you mentioned, like maybe Scheifele could have made the team. He's a bit more offensive input than a guy like Bennett. But Bennett, he's going to be feisty. He's going to be throwing the body around, and you're going to need that in a short tournament like this. So I'm kind of liking the way Team Canada is. Mark, I want to ask you something here. Do you think they can win the tournament? And if so, how would they have to play to win the tournament?
I think they can win the tournament. I think that it's kind of a cliche answer, but I really think that they're going to need everyone to kind of chip in. Like I think that players are just going to have to adapt to different roles than they're used to. But at the same time, it's like they brought some guys that have already play these kind of types of roles. Like, yeah, like I said, Hagel and Cirelli aren't fourth liners, but it's like they play that style where they're defensive and gritty and will go in the corners. And it's like, you even look at their defense, it's like we've got our QB in Makar, who's also super solid two-way. You've got another guy who's super good at moving the puck in Morrissey, and even Theodore too. Fuck, I wasn't even thinking about him. And then, but at the same time, you got Taves is a good shutdown guy. So is Doughty. So is Parayko, right? So it's like I think they've kind of constructed this team well in accordance to playing their roles. Like when you mentioned like Bouchard, like I disagree. I wouldn't even put him on the radar. I think he's just the role he plays. It's just like it's too similar to like a couple guys they have, and it's like he doesn't really like play that great defensively. So it's like I just don't really see the upside in having him. To be quite honest with you, I don't know. I think that they have a really good chance of winning the tournament, but it's just like I'm concerned about their goalies. I really am. It's like to what you said. Yes, I do think they could steal a game in the finals, but it's just like I feel like I'd be way less confident that they're going to do it. I guess like if we're heading to the finals and even goaltending is like. We can even say good to above average, like up until the finals. It's like I would still kind of be like, there's probably a 25 to 30% chance he's stealing this game. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's I'm not like. Meanwhile, well, you look at the other end in Hellebuck, and you could be like, there's probably a fucking 60 to 80% chance he's stealing this game. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I do think they could win, but I mean, it's close. Even like the favorite, man. Like. I do really like the team, though, man. I was a little bit harsh on they came out, but I'm kind of starting to understand the decisions more.
I'm with you on that, man. Like I'm starting to understand the decisions more. I do think they can win the tournament. And to be honest, I'm sort of with you. Like if they are winning the tournament, they're gonna have to win it with everybody's stepping up and playing in the role that they were brought on this team to do, right? Like when you sort of look at Team USA and sort of just compare rosters, like if Team USA is winning this tournament, Team USA is going to win it where they're scoring a lot of goals, they're giving up a lot of opportunities, but Hellebuck's bailing them out a fair bit, right? Like defensively, the Team USA is not amazing. We'll get into that a bit later, but when you look at Team Canada, they brought along like a lot of very good defensive players. So I think it's going to be one of those where guys are playing good defensively. You're having your top players like the McDavids, the Crosby, like those two top lines are putting up points, but then you're also not giving up a shit ton of opportunities. Like you're playing safe, smart hockey. I think if Canada's going to win the tournament, that's how they're going to do it. Mark, just before we move on from this Team Canada and move on to Team USA, I want to ask you one question. If you were the GM of this team, who's one player that you would bring, and who would you swap out to bring that player?
At any position?
At any position.
I honestly, I'd take out Sam Montembeault and bring Logan Thompson.
Yep. I'm with you. That would be my first option. I'm going to go with, just to change it up a little bit, I'm going to go with another one. I would bring Mark Scheifele, and I would take out Brad Marchand.
That's
an That wouldn't be my first option. The first one would be the Logan Thompson one, but just to change it up from your answer, I think my next one would be take Scheifele and take out Marchand. I think Scheifele, just how good of a season he's had so far this year, he deserves to be on that roster. And yes, Brad Marchand, he's a veteran player. He's been in the big moments. He's represented Team Canada before, but I just think he hasn't had the greatest season so far. Boston's sort of been on the slide so far this year, and
I kind of see him moving to the fourth line eventually, to be honest. And I think Hagel's going to end up going higher in the lineup. That's my prediction.
I could see that. I could even see Konechny going in for a game or two, maybe.
He's sick though right now. I don't know. Like these lines have to do with him not attending practice. I don't know if there's like any talk about him even being out of the lineup game one. I guess it depends how he's going to be feeling.
Let's move on and talk about Team USA. The Americans, they only have one player missing the tournament, but it's a pretty big name. Quinn Hughes is not going to be playing in the tournament. He's missing it with injury, and replacing him is Jake Sanderson. Mark, with Quinn Hughes out, who needs to fill that big role?
What a loss, eh? Holy shit. Like, fuck. Like, this sucks so much for the States, man. And for Quinn Hughes, too, right? Like, a chance to play with his other, or with his brother. I think the guy most equipped to fill the role is probably Werenski, the way he's been playing. The thing is, though, it changes. Honestly, like the way I had these D pairs looking with Hughes is so much different now without him. Like I'm more or less like, I think shit could be changed around. Like right now they're practicing Slavin, Fox, Werenski, McAvoy, Hanif, and Faber, Sanderson as a seventh. I don't know. I think they just have a lot less like driving force of offense from the back end without him. Not that these guys can't be offensive in any way, but it's just like now you're relying on Werenski to run that power play. Fox, he's a really good two-way guy, right? But maybe they're looking for him to bring more offense now, and that's why they're putting Slavin with him. But you look at even McAvoy, like he's more of a defensive guy, and like Faber and Hanifin are kind of like two-way guys, right? So I don't know, dude. Like USA's D looks really good. If you look at it on paper, it's super talented, really good skaters. It's not nearly as scary to me though as like Canada's, in the sense of like they've got some big boys, like a lot more like shutdown presence. I guess that is kind of weird to say when they like Slavin, but like I just feel like Canada's got a little bit more depth in that.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
No, I completely agree with you.
Does that make sense? I don't think it's like a huge like difference, but it's like if I'm comparing actual defending, I feel like I'd take Canada. But also, if they had Quinn Hughes, he's awesome two-way too, right? So it's like my answer could be different if Quinn Hughes is on the team. Like I don't mind Sanderson as the replacement, though. I can't lie.
I like Sanderson as well. Looking at the Team USA defensive pairings and just compared to them against Canada's, I think they have a bit more two-way potential, a bit more offensive input than Team Canada, where like Team Canada, you have your top dogs, which is like Makar. You know he's going to be an offensive beast in this tournament. But I think when you start to get deeper in that lineup for Team Canada, you start to get a bit more guys that are a bit better shutdown guys, right? Where like Werenski's known a bit more for his offensive side of the puck. Brock Faber and Noah Hannafin, they're both good two-way defensemen, but like would I take Doughty or like a Theodore to shut a guy down, or would I take Hannafin or Faber? Honestly, I'd probably go with Theodore, like Shea Theodore, right? I think that's where it's sort of a bit weird for Team USA's defense core. And back to the question, I sort of was thinking about. I think the guy for me that I think Team USA really wants to step up is Adam Fox, right? Like as you mentioned, he's playing with Slavin. He won the Norse a few seasons ago, had that massive offensive season. We know he's capable of it. I think Adam Fox is like Zach Werenski. You know what you're going to be getting from him. You're going to be getting a guy that can run your power play. He can move the puck. Where Adam Fox, it's like if he can have that offensive input that he had a few seasons ago in the NHL when he won that Norris that year, I think it makes this Team USA a lot more scary if he can play like that. And I think with them pairing up with Slavin, you're really going to be able to have him run around and take a lot more risks offensively because you have that Slavin just back there locking things up, right?
Yeah.
Next up I had for you is Connor Hellebuck. Like he's having a historical season in net for the Winnipeg Jets. Do you think he plays every game for Team USA in this tournament? And if he's not, who's getting the net as the backup?
That's a hard, that's a fucking tough one, dude. I'm going to say he does not get every game. They'll give one game to another guy. And I think it would be Ottinger. I don't think Swayman's been consistent enough this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, man. Swayman, his ceiling is pretty high, but he just hasn't shown the consistency since missing out on training camp this year. And he's really been playing catch up, I feel like, this whole season. I think Ottinger would be the number two if he was to get the net. Honestly, I think Connor Hellebuck plays every game.
That's the thing, right? Is they have the proper gaps between games too, where it's like he could play all of them. You could have one goalie play from each team every game, there's enough rest in there, right? But I don't know. It depends how they really want to do it. It's not a long fucking tournament. It's not the Olympics where you got 4 round robin games and 3 fucking playoff games here, right? It's a max 4 games. 2 of the teams are only playing 3. So like one guy I see, like I think Saros is playing every minute of every second with Finland.
I agree there. I think Saros takes the net the whole time for Finland.
And depending how Allmark feels, Gustafsson might too.
Yep. Before we move on from Team USA, I want to ask you a few more things here. We haven't really touched about their forward group too much. How are you liking their forward lines? Because for me, I'm not saying this is the wrong choice, but I just do find it a touch interesting that Team USA captain Austin Matthews is not the first line center. He's currently penciled in on the second line playing with Jake Gensel and Jack Hughes. How do you feel about this forward group, though?
Overall, it's a really good group. It's really deep. They've got a lot of different things in here that can help them win. They've got like a couple guys that are like kind of pure snipers, a lot of guys that can help set them up. And then even their bottom 6, they've got the grittiness of like Brady Tkachuk, Miller. I agree with the Matthews thing. I honestly, too, I'm so surprised they don't have him with a Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Like, I think that'd be perfect to have him with a Tkachuk. I don't know. Like, even like the way they got it now, Gensel, Matthews, Hughes. Like, I don't really know how much I love Gensel with Matthews. Like, they're both snipers, dude.
I think that one, like, I see why Eichel's playing with Kyle Connor because Kyle Connor's a goal scorer. Eichel can play make for him, right? You're gonna have Matthew Tkachuk running around, get the puck for those two guys. But honestly, I would have preferred to see like Matthew Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, and then Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, and Brady Tkachuk. I prefer that to be my top six because you have both the Tkachuk brothers in there who are going to be running around causing mayhem.
Can you say that again? Sorry.
I'd prefer to have one line is like let's keep the line one how it is and have Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, and Matthew Tkachuk, and then the second line I'd prefer to have Brady Tkachuk on there and swap it out with Gensel. I prefer to have the Tkachuk brothers in my top six because they're going to be able to get the puck to the like Matthews or Hughes and really let those guys play make or
so do you want me? I'll read you through the four lines I had set up on my own, just as like a hypothetical. So I had Jack Hughes, Matthews, and Matthew Tkachuk. Then second line I had Brady Tkachuk with Eichel and Gensel. Third line I had Larkin with JT Miller and Kyle Connor. And then the fourth line I had Nelson with Trocheck and Boldy, and then Kreider as the odd man out. Then D, pretty much the same, Slavin, Fox, Werenski, Faber, and then I had Hanif and McAvoy.
Just repeat for me who was on your second line.
Brady Tkachuk with Jack Eichel and Jake Gensel.
See, the one thing I'd switch out there is I'd switch out Jake Gensel and Kyle Connor. I just think Kyle Connor.
They're like similar players though with the sniper aspect, right? But yeah, okay, that's fair as well.
Yeah, I agree with your lines though. I just changed that one. I just think Kyle Connor is.
It's like each line you get like a sniper, a gritty guy, a playmaker, like almost on each like line. It feels like, right? Like you're separating Matthew Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk, JT Miller, and then the fourth line like Trocheck, right? Like it's kind of nicely spread out in that aspect.
Yeah, I definitely like your lines. I think it'd be interesting. I think the other thing too is like over the short tournament, I don't think there's really going to be any lines that are set in stone for a lot of these teams, right? Like I think we could see a lot of player movement within the lineup, especially for a team like USA where it's really like a lot of these players are pretty close in caliber of the players they are, right? Like a guy like JT Miller, even maybe it's like if he's going like JT Miller, maybe you can bump him up into your top six.
Yeah, I got one question for you before we move on, though. Actually,
go ahead.
Do you think at any point Sanderson will come in for Hanifin?
Yep.
The only thing I will say is that if they're keeping the D pairs the same, it's going to be Sanderson-Faber. So I wonder if they're worried about kind of like the inexperience on that pair. I only ask that because I really like Sanderson. I think he's a super solid two-way guy. He logs a shit ton of minutes. And to be honest with you, dude, I'd argue that he's been better than Hanifin this season. That's in my opinion.
I think I'd agree with that. I think if Sanderson is coming in, though, I agree with you there. Having Sanderson, Faber, it's a bit young and inexperienced. I think the thing is, like, if you are having Sanderson come in and playing, I think they'd have to completely do a full, like, 360 kind of on the defensive pairings, right?
Yeah.
If he's coming in for Hanifin, at least. Like, if you're bringing Sanderson in, it's like you probably want him playing with maybe, like, a guy like McAvoy or Fox, right? Maybe a bit more of a veteran guy.
Here, I got one more question for you. Are you a little bit surprised they took Sanderson over John Carlson?
Not too much. I think John Carlson, he's still a phenomenal player. I just think Jake Sanderson, I think defense, he's a great skater, to be honest. I love the way he skates. And I think in his own end, he's a bit safer than John Carlson. Like, I think this Team USA has enough guys that on the back end where they can put up points, where I think the big thing for the Team USA defensemen is, like, they don't have a lot of, like, really reliable shutdown guys outside of maybe Slavin. Like, I think Slavin, phenomenal shutdown guy. But they don't have, like, outside of him, they don't have a guy that's, like, a true shutdown guy, blocking shots, getting in the corners, where I think Jake Sanderson can be that guy if he's getting in the lineup for Team USA.
Yeah, I think, too, like, USA's, their D's not very big either. Yeah. The only thing I was thinking about Carlson was that the one thing I would argue too with this USAD is like they don't really have like a veteran guy. Like, I mean, not to say these guys haven't played in the league for quite some times. Like, okay, you could argue maybe Slavin at
He's
30,
the only
but
guy over 30, I think.
that's what I mean. So
on the
that's why I
back
was like,
end.
do they take like a 34-year-old John Carlson? Like, Canada's got Parayko, they got fucking Doughty. Like, I don't know. That was just kind of my thing. I thought maybe John Carlson was going to be the guy.
I want to ask you two more things here before we move on from Team USA. Mark, are they the favorites to win this tournament, or do you have somebody else?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're the favorites. My only real concern about them is the size of their defense, and like maybe it's a little bit inexperienced, but I think that they're going to be like almost skating themselves out of some problems. To be honest with you, on the back end, if they're able to kind of move the puck and play solid defensively, get great goaltending, I think they've got a really good shot at winning this thing.
I'm with you on it, dude. I think you nailed it in the head. This Team USA, they're looking pretty good. I would say I have them as my favorites, but their defense, yeah, they scare me just a touch. They are a bit small. You don't know what you're fully going to get from them in your defensive zone at times. But for me, the big standout is Connor Hellebuck. Like, you have Connor Hellebuck in the back of the net there. That's going to be, I think that might be the game changer for them. Last question, though, for you. Who's one player you'd bring and one player you'd swap out?
I think I would take out Kreider, and I'd probably bring Tage Thompson.
That was gonna
Get a little bit more size up front.
That was gonna be the pick that I had as well. I'll go with a different one. I'll go take out Brock Nelson and bring Goal Caulfield. Not Cole, Goal Caulfield.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure if I would bring him. I think there's a couple other guys you could look at even in front of him.
Who do you say even?
Robertson? Keller?
Keller's a good one too.
Robertson's been on fire since he didn't get named to the team.
Yeah, he has. He just had such a slow start, man, but he has been pretty good as of recently. Next up, we got Team Sweden. Couple guys are going to be missing the tournament for them. First is William Karlsson, and Jacob Markstrom is not going to be on the team as well. They're both out with injuries. Replacing them are Ricard Raquel and Samuel Ersson. Mark, with Markstrom out, who's going to be the Sweden number one?
I think they're going to give it to Gus because Allmark's been out, kind of. But I see if Allmark's healthy, they're almost doing sort of like a rotation kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think Gus gets in the nod game one, but I think with Team Sweden, like as we mentioned earlier with Team USA, like are there going to be goalies that are going to play the whole tournament? There is like a couple goalies that probably could play the whole tournament, and you have the rest in between games, so it is manageable. I think if there's one team where you sort of do see a tandem, it's definitely most likely going to be Team Sweden. Like Gustafsson so far this year, he's been amazing. You could make an argument.
You don't think Canada's going to do it?
For me, I think Aiden Hill is just like
the clear-cut guy of what they have.
Clear-cut guy right now. Where it's like with Gus and Allmark, it's like both are like if Gus I think should get the start, man. Like he's having a Vezina caliber year, to be honest. But it's like if he comes out and has a bad game one against Team Canada, it's like you're kind of fine with throwing Allmark in the net, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Where it's like with Canada and Aiden Hill, it's like if Aiden Hill has a bad game one against Sweden, it's like, do you really want to force Bennington in the net? Or do you want to give Aiden Hill another chance? Like, I'd almost want to rather give Aiden Hill another chance.
I mean, fair, but I will say Bennington has known to show up in big moments. So that's why I'm not that, against it.
That is fair. Mark, big question going into this tournament, though, for Team Sweden is Elias Pettersson. Of course, he's not having a great season with the Vancouver Canucks this year. Can this tournament help him in returning to be a top player?
I think he could definitely get his confidence back 100%. I would just want to see how he looks after too, because it's like you're playing with really good players, right, in this tournament. But who knows, man? Some of these guys just like a confidence factor. He could fucking play with a couple of these guys, get his confidence up. So Sweden actually just, I don't know if they're practicing at the moment or they just finished practice, but this is the lines they got running right now. I'll list them off. They've got Nylander on left wing, actually. He's playing with Zibanejad and Raquel on the first line. Then they got Kempe with Elias Pettersson and Forsberg. Bratt with Eriksson Ek and Raymond. And then Nyquist with Elias Lindholm and Arvidsson, which means Leo Carlsson is the odd man out. Defense, they've got Hedman with Brodin, Ekholm with Erik Karlsson, and Dahlin with Rasmus Anderson. And then Gustafsson, Allmark, and net.
And then who was their seventh D?
So their seventh D technically, I don't know if it's a missing practice thing, but it's Gustav Forsling. Like you'd think he'd be playing.
Think if
like Daily Faceoff had Hedman, Dahlin, Forsling, Erik Karlsson, and then Ekholm with who's the seventh guy?
Brodin.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a whole Gustav Forsling's like injured or sick or just missing practice, but I'd probably have him in the top 4. Like, dude, honestly, if you're gonna play Erik Karlsson, he's the fucking perfect guy you play him with.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Yep.
But honestly, if it was my choice, dude, I'd start Erik Karlsson as a 7th defenseman.
I'm with you. I think if Brodin's getting in the lineup, you take out Karlsson. I don't like if Forsling's coming out just because that's the lines they want to roll with. I think that's kind of crazy, to be honest. I think Forsling over the past sort of season and a half, like
he's an elite shutdown defenseman.
Yeah, like you know what you're getting from him. He's an amazing shutdown guy. You can throw him out against like top offensive talent and rely on him to shut them down.
But Sweden doesn't even need Erik Karlsson on the power play, dude. Like they got Hedman, they got fucking Dahlin. Like they don't need him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. The thing I kind of liked about the lines that you said they were practicing with, I kind of like how they were sort of spreading out the talent a little bit. Because it's like they do have some decent top-end talent, but I think when you're comparing Sweden to Canada and Team USA, I think they don't have as much depth maybe as those two teams. But the way they're sort of putting out their lines, it's like you have 2 top-end players with like a pretty good guy on each line, which I kind of liked about the lines that you said they were running with at practice. How did you feel about those lines, though? Because I know Daily Faceoff had some other lines on.
I don't mind it, but is it unfair to say that I feel like their second and third line is almost better than their first?
I kind of wonder.
Kempe, Elias Pettersson, Forsberg. I would argue that's probably more recipe to getting some goals than Nylander, Zibanejad, Raquel.
Yeah.
And even the third line, Bratt, Eriksson Ek, Raymond. Okay, Eriksson Ek, yeah, I'd leave him 3C. I think it's a good spot for him. But like it's like even Bratt, Raymond, it's probably a better duo than fucking Nylander and Raquel, no?
Yeah, it's just Nylander is just so good. It's like Nylander could really carry that first line, you know what I mean?
Do you think it's weird though they got Zibanejad on line 1?
I'd probably swap out Zibanejad, move him down to the second line, and then move Kempe up to the first line. I'd probably make that move, have Kempe and Nylander playing together. But
see, I think that look, Zibanejad looks a lot better recently when he's been playing the wing.
Yep.
So what I would do is I'd put Pettersson 1C. 2C, you might have to go Eriksson Ek. Then 3C, you can go Elias Lindholm. And then honestly, I would swap out Arvidsson, put Leo Carlsson in, and have him 4C.
Yeah, I honestly like that. And then who would you have what would your lineup be if you had the ideal lineup?
What did I have here? I had Forsberg, Pettersson, Nylander, Bratt with Eriksson Ek and Raymond, Raquel with Elias Lindholm and Kempe, and then I had Zibanejad with Eriksson, Ek, and Kempe. That was the third line. And then the fourth line, Leo Carlson, Raquel, and Nyquist.
Yeah, I do
Just
like
because I think Zibanejad's been better on the wing. But it's like they have good wingers, though, right? So it's like maybe they want him at center.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Team Sweden with their forward group, there could be a lot of movement within that lineup, dude. Like, there's some guys that can play center and on the wing. Like Zibanejad. I love your point to Zibanejad that since JT Miller's gone to New York, he's been a lot better playing on the wing than he has been at center. So it's like, would you not maybe want him playing on the wing here?
And it's like, even if you say, like, okay, we'll put him 3C, like, bro, he's going to be still getting insane matchups playing as a 3C. Like,
yeah, like if you're playing 3C, when you're playing Team USA, you're going to be playing JT Miller. And when you're playing Team Canada, you're going to be going up against Brain Point. It's like, those are the centers you're going up against in the NHL. Like, as the number one guys. I guess maybe not JT Miller anymore, but I don't know. Overall, I do like this Team Sweden. Before we move on and talk about Team Finland, though, Mark, who's one player you'd bring and who's one player you'd have out?
Kind of got two in mind. Okay, I'm going to go with the forward option. I had a forward and D option. Forward, I'm going to go sub out Arvidsson and bring William Eklund.
William Eklund?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that pick. I think Eklund's had a phenomenal season for this.
Say yours, and then I'll say what I was thinking my D1 was.
See, I'm trying to keep them a bit different from you just to not be so repetitive. Like, I do like yours. The one I would maybe like to see a little bit too is bring Michael Backlund and take out... I'm going to take out Victor Arvidsson.
See, I would have loved Backlund on this team because then that Zibanejad thing makes so much more sense putting him on the wing.
And it's like,
you just put Backlund as 4C, fucking 13 forward, whatever. Like,
and on their front end, they don't really have too many veterans either, right? Like, it's like Michael Backlund's a veteran. He's a really good defensive player. He's a pretty good face-off man. Like, that's a guy that, like, playing fourth line C for Team Sweden, like, they'd probably love to have.
Yeah. The other one I was thinking of on D, the only reason I'm kind of hesitant on it because it would only leave one right-handed shooting defenseman on the team would be sub out Erik Karlsson and bring Hampus Lindholm.
Yep.
But that would bring 5 left-handed defensemen for Sweden, which is a little bit concerning.
Yeah, that would be a little bit, but he would be pretty good on this team. Let's move on and talk about Team Finland. This team has had the most injuries out of every team heading into the tournament. Miro Heiskanen, Jani Hakanpää, and Rasmus Ristolainen are all out of the tournament, and replacing them are Henri Jokiharju, Euro Vakanainen, and Nicholas Matinpalo. Mark, that's 3 defensemen for Team Finland being injured. Already when these rosters were originally announced, we were pretty much talking about Team Finland and how worried we already were for their defensive core. How much more does this even worry you heading into the tournament for this
team? So there's actually kind of like, I don't want to say some breaking news. This is not looking good, dude. Finland stepped on the ice for practice today. They are currently decimated with injuries and only had 11 skaters and 2 goalies show up on the ice. I don't really understand what's going on. There's no word on who it is or anything along that lines, but that's fucking concerning, dude.
It's really concerning, considering they can't even put out a full lineup right now.
And I don't know if they're going to be swarming last second here, like to panic, bring some guys in. I know the roster thing is, it's like an hour from now, I think, is the kind of the final say. I did read, though, that if any team goes below 18 skaters and 2 goalies, they're allowed to, like, during the tournament, they're allowed to bring someone else in.
Okay. So
it's like if you legitimately, you can get to the point where you have no one scratched, but if you get to the point where you're down less than 18 skaters, you can call someone else to come in.
I guess the only thing with that, though, is for Team Finland is that if they have a defenseman that goes down injured, I don't think there's any more.
Ville Heinola is the only guy left.
Okay. So
that they can take.
He'd get a call, but it's like if he's in Mexico right now, it's like
they're gonna PJ him fucking quick, I guess, right? The thing is with Finland, it sucks, dude, because it's like they were gonna rely on Heiskanen to play a ton. He's fucking gone. Like Ristolainen was probably gonna be in the top 4. He's gone. What do they do? Like how do you approach this defensively? I honestly think you go to Esa Lindell and be like, bro, you're going to play as much as you possibly can. Because he's by far their best defenseman now, in my opinion.
I think he's the only defenseman that should be in the top 4. Only Madden, maybe you can get away with him being in the top 4, to be honest. But Lindell is the only true top 4 guy, I think, in this defensive lineup. And it's outside of him, it's a pretty quick drop off. You got Mata, you got Valimaki and Jokiharju, who are going to be your penciled in second pairing. And it's Jokiharju is a guy who wasn't even projected. He wasn't even on the original roster. And now you have him playing in your top 4, right? So it's it's little concerning if I'm looking at their defensive core.
I honestly just don't know how they're going to get away with this, bro. Yeah. I just think it's going to cause a lot of problems for them.
And I wonder how much it even backfires on the NHL for sort of the setup of it. You know what I mean? Where it's because it's one thing if it's this sort of defensive group, but you're also going up against a team Germany and a team Czechia or a team Slovakia, where at least it balances self out a bit. But it's the 3 other teams you're playing against are Sweden, USA, and Canada, who all have absolutely stacked rosters, right? So it's they're not gonna play one game where it's not gonna be an issue. Where in the Olympics you're gonna play some not as dominant opponents where you can maybe get away with having your defense look like this. But I want to ask you though, Mark, what are your expectations for this team?
I don't think they're going to make the finals. I don't see it happening. I honestly think. Thing is I don't mind their forward core.
Yep.
It's not bad. It's probably the worst out of anyone, but it's not terrible. They've got some really good top end talent. Their power play's got potential to be lethal, I think. I think they're either not winning a game or winning one.
I'm with you on that, man. I think the goal for them is to win a game, dude.
Here's the problem. Here's a huge thing that I think is going to be a problem for them. Their defensemen, okay. I think that they're going to be able to defend okay. I think that they've got enough guys that are defensively good. I think it's just going to matter of, are they going to be deployed too much and it's too much minutes? You know what I mean? But the one thing that I think they're going to fucking struggle with is getting the puck up to their forwards. They don't got any puck movers, dude.
Yeah.
They were going to rely on Heiskanen to do that. Maybe Jokiharju? Dude, here's my question. Who's running the fucking power play on defense? Or do you just go 5 forwards? They've got Valimaki as the quarterback right now.
I was going to say probably Valimaki just because of his offensive upside.
Decent.
He has some offensive upside, right? It's if he's playing with some top end talent, maybe he can show out a little bit.
Would you be surprised even halfway through game 1 if they run a 5 forward power play unit?
Not overly, maybe a little, but honestly, not overly if they ran to a 5-man power play unit.
You sub out Valimaki, even put him on PP2, and then you can take a Teravainen or a Rupe Hintz or a Granlund and throw him up there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who exactly would be kind of the quarterback in that situation. Honestly, I feel one of the best options would probably be Aho.
Yep.
To be honest, he's kind of pretty shifty. You know what I mean? It's you'd want Barkov, Rantanen, and Laine kind of in their spots already, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Aho's probably the best passer too out of all those guys. Maybe
Yeah.
Randon's the best, but as you mentioned, like you want Randon in a spot, right? Like
Yeah.
Aho's probably the best guy to really distribute
Like they got
backfield.
Lindell on PP2 right now, dude. The guy's like the most defensive guy I've ever seen, man.
The other thing too that I find interesting about this team is like their center depth is pretty good. Like it's
It is.
Barkov, Aho, Hintz, Lindell, right? Like their center depth really good. Could you see though maybe like one of those guys moving over to the wing so you can get him up in the lineup? Because like let's be honest, Lindell, I think Lindell could be playing in the top six if he was a winger. But since he's a center, he's playing fourth line center, right? Like Rope Hintz, like the fact that Rope Hintz is not in the top six is kind of crazy. But it's like if you're playing him at center though, you're not playing him over Barkov and Aho. But it's like you could have him in on playing on wing instead of Teravainen on the first line. Even Lehkonen. Like I
Yeah.
like Lehkonen as a player, but would I rather have Lehkonen, Aho, Rantanen, or Hintz, Aho, Rantanen? I'd
See, I'm going to
probably
be honest
rather.
with you, dude. I completely disagree. I think Lehkonen has got the chemistry with Rantanen from being with Colorado and that connection they've had. And I will say that Lehkonen has proved recently that he can play well with really good players.
Okay, maybe not Lehkonen then, but
Honestly,
for sure Teravainen.
I think I would swap out Teravainen. I actually like Lehkonen. I think that he can make a big difference as like he's such a grindy player, dude, too. Like I don't know, like he's kind of like a poor man's like Brandon Hagel. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like he's got 20 if you look at Lehkonen this year, dude, he's on like if he played the full season, I think he's on pace for 38 goals.
Yeah, I kind of forgot
Like
about the whole Randon factor too that they played together in
yeah,
Colorado too,
I
right? But
honestly like them together. I think that I do get what you're saying because the thing is too, it's like they've got Granlund on the wing. He plays both, but
yeah,
also it's like if he plays both, I would argue that it's better to just keep him on the wing when you have so many centers already.
yeah.
So I could see a situation where Hintz even goes up to line one, Teravainen into line three, maybe move Kako down to line four, bring Lundell up to 3C, and then Luisterainen also plays center too, dude. So he could probably
Yeah.
be the fourth line center. There's Arakawa as well. You could sub out Joel Armia. I mean, they've got a decent amount of options. That they've got kind of the every people able to play kind of those dual positions. Dude, I don't know what it is, man, and I have no I have no like proof of this or like I just think, dude, that I feel like Kako is gonna have a huge tournament. I don't know why, but I just feel like he's gonna pop off.
I mean, honestly, dude, if the lines like he's gonna be playing with some pretty decent talent. Like if the lines stay how they are, he's gonna be playing third line with Hintz and Granlund. Like that's a pretty decent third line in an international tournament.
And he's been really good since going to Seattle. And I don't want to say this is like his coming out party because I don't really know if it would be, but it's like I feel like we might look back on this tournament and be like Kako is like one of their best forwards.
I would love to see that. I loved him when he was coming to the NHL, and of course, it hasn't fully panned out for him so far. But if he could break out and sort of become more of the player that we thought he was going to be coming into the league, I'd fucking love to see that, man. That that's all four teams though that we've talked about. Before we move on though from Finland and ask some more miscellaneous type questions, I want to ask you who's one player you'd bring in, one player you'd maybe swap out for this team. Honestly, I don't even know if I can think of one.
Mm, I mean, there's fucking no one on defense for sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's anyone in net either. Yeah, the only other option in net would really be Corpusalo, I think.
For me, I'm coming to a complete blank, dude. I don't.
What other like active NHL fucking Finns are there on the team?
You could bring Kotkaniemi maybe, but it's like he's not been great at all. So, and who would you bring him over?
Okay, here's one. Honestly, it's just to give an answer, and I don't really even know if it makes it better. Sub out Luisterainen. I'll bring Ellie Tolvanen.
Actually, Ellie Tolvanen's a guy I'd like to see. I'd love to see on that team.
Give just to get some more scoring, and it's like you already have a bunch of centers Honestly, maybe Habs bias. I just think Armia can be super effective on the penalty kill. He said 2 shorthanded goals in the past like week, I think. Like I just
And he
think
also
that's going to be his role, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like he's not going to be expected to do a lot, but I think he's got a role on the team. You know?
he also adds a veteran presence too, which is good to have.
Yeah.
Mark, I got a couple like more fun-hearted questions here.
Okay.
Just with the tournament. Um, if this tournament was to help any NHL team in the regular season, what NHL team do you think that would be and why?
Hmm. That's a good fucking question, dude. Like, do you mean like help, like just in any way? It could be short term, long term, just like
Yeah, short
any
term, long term.
players.
You like maybe Elias Pettersson pops off and he becomes a player that we think
Hmm.
he's going to be. Right? It's like maybe that's the one. I don't know. Maybe the ones like it helps Carolina because Aho and Rantanen get going together and they come back and bring the chemistry to Carolina. You know, something
What
sort of like
team?
that.
Honestly, dude. Okay, I got an answer. Actually, I'm gonna go with the New York Rangers. I think that you got 3 guys on the same team with the States. Maybe Kreider gets going, Trocheck, JT Miller, get some more chemistry there, and then if you look over at Sweden, can Zibanejad get going even more? So
Yep.
honestly, looking at it, I'd argue the New York Rangers. And even obviously, like Fox is elite, but it's like I'd also argue he's kind of taken a tiny step back this year compared to other years. So you got him too to get going, man. I'm going with the Rangers.
I think that's a good pick. For me, this one is a bit unique, but I saw this today when I was sort of doing the show prep, and I was like, "Holy shit, is this true? Like, no way, this makes no sense." But I'm gonna go with the Washington Capitals, and here's why. Did you know that
They don't have anyone playing.
There's not one Washington Capital playing in this
I
tournament?
know.
Is that not crazy that the NHL's best team does not have one player playing in this tournament? I think that's gonna help them out, man. Like, I think they're gonna get a nice week and a half off here at a great time of the season. And if they're already rolling now, it's like a well rested Washington Capitals team when you have some teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs where you have like 3-4 guys that playing in the tournament, right? Like as you mentioned, New York. Like as much as it could help New York, it could also hurt them in the long run where it's like, I don't know, maybe they're a bit more fatigued at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going with it's going to help out Washington just because they're going to be well rested going into this sort of final stretch of the season into the playoffs.
My first like thought was the Islanders just for like Nelson's value.
Yep.
But I mean, he's the only guy and he's also not really playing a huge role. But I mean, if he scores some key goals or something, who knows, right? Like it could up his value. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the Rangers.
I like that one. There's a couple good ones, man. Like with a tournament like this, it could help out like so many different players in so many different ways. Um, Next question for you: who's your pick for best forward, best defenseman, and best goalie of the tournament?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot with this, dude. Okay, let me think. Best forward, best defenseman, best goalie. Okay, best D. I'm gonna go Makar. I think without Hughes, I think he's got a huge chance to win that. This might be a little bit. This might be a little bit kind of off the board. I'm gonna go best forward, Jack Eichel.
That's a good pick, dude. If I was a betting man, like the odds probably on Jack Eichel are probably pretty fucking good, dude. That's a great pick, man.
In net, I think I'm gonna go Hellebuck, just because I think that the States are gonna win.
For me, I'm gonna
I think
go
he's gonna be solid.
best
Sorry.
defenseman. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Makar. Keep it the same as you. Like that power play one for Team Canada, it's disgusting, dude. Having him as
Yeah.
the quarterback, like he's gonna be a point merchant on that power play. Um, Best forward, I'm gonna I'm gonna go with Kyle Connor, dude.
That's a
I'm
good
gonna go
one,
with
man.
Kyle Connor.
I
I
think he's
think
just gonna score a lot.
dude, if he's playing with Eichel and Kachuk, like I could legit see him being over a goal per game in this tournament.
Yeah.
And then best goalie, I'm with you, dude. Connor Hellebuck. It's hard to look at. It's hard to look at any other goalies in this tournament when you have Connor Hellebuck playing the way he's been playing this season. I even saw an article today basically saying that like there's a legitimate argument for Connor Hellebuck to be in the Hart conversation this year, and I was like, yeah, like,
I think so too, dude.
It's pretty legit, man. I want to ask you one.
Okay, yeah. Ask me this one question, and then I'm gonna change the topic.
Okay, I want to ask you one question here because I sort of saw this article on Sportsnet. Depending on how the tournament goes, Mark, could there be a new quote unquote best player in the world after this tournament?
I'm gonna say no, because my counter would be, who else is really getting to that besides McKinnon? But are you asking in the sense of like if McKinnon's tournament MVP and they win, does that pass him? Or do you think there's another guy that could be in the conversation with McDavid?
I'd say the only other guy really for me would be maybe Makar. It's a bit different because one's a forward, one's a defenseman. But I think like if McKinnon or Makar, if those guys come out, have an amazing tournament, win MVP, and Team Canada wins gold, while McDavid just had like a more average tournament, I don't know. I think there could maybe be a little bit discussion being like, hey, like is McDavid still like the legit unanimous best player in the world, or like has McKinnon maybe overtaken him? Like, let's be honest, dude. Like, if we're talking about who's been the best player in the past year and a half, I think you can I think there's a legitimate case to say Nathan McKinnon has been the best player in the past year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought this exact same thing for a bit of time, and then I heard this, and it kind of changed my opinion. Does it make you feel any differently that within this 18-month span, Connor McDavid went to the Stanley Cup Finals and won the Conn Smythe as a loser?
Not too much, to be honest.
Really?
Only because Nathan, the only reason it doesn't change my mind too much is just because like Nathan McKinnon, McKinnon has a cup, right? Like, if it was Matthews,
true, but it wasn't in the past 18 months though.
That's fair. That is fair. But like, if it was Matthews putting up these numbers that McKinnon's been putting up, then yeah, it would change my mind a little bit because it'd be like, yeah, well, you know what, he's got bounced in the first round the last fucking couple of years, right? But
I actually don't like. I think the gap is way less than it was a year and a half ago. I seriously do, and I still believe that McDavid's the best player to ever lace him up. But I'm telling you, McKinnon's getting close.
I think even Makar, dude. I think even Makar, man. Like again,
okay, I do agree, but I will say that you could disagree with me, but Quinn Hughes has closed the gap between him and Makar like a lot. Okay, I would say the gap between Makar and Hughes is less than it is from Hughes to the next guy. Like, I think that Makar and Hughes you look at and you're like, those two are the two best defensemen in the league, and it's not even close. But then I think when you start to look at who's the number three, you're getting into more of a conversation of, oh, okay, it could be him or him or him, maybe, right? Like, I think if you look from probably the third to like seventh or eighth best defenseman in the league and you polled like 40 people, they probably have some different answers. But if you polled the same 40 people about who are the best two, I guarantee you 90 and 95% of them are saying it's Makar and Hughes.
I agree with that. I will say, though, is that if in a year's time, Zach Werenski is still playing how he's been playing so far this season, then I think you might have a unanimous number three there.
No, I agree. But I the one thing is like, okay, you can argue Werenski is a Norris candidate this year and he deserves it. But if we're looking at the grand scheme of things over like a 2-year sample size, like I can't sit here and confidently say like I think he's the third best defenseman in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we need to
because I'd argue going into this season, he was probably just outside my top 10.
For me, if we're talking about like next year this time and Werenski's again like top three, like a couple points behind Makar and Hughes in points, then I think maybe at that point we can start having that conversation where he's for sure a top three defenseman. But I think right now it's just he's starting to get there, but we just need to see him do it for an extended period of time for like
Yeah.
and have a legit sample size.
But saying that, like what I was saying about Hughes, I know you're saying Makar, like he could get up there, but I just believe that Hughes is like undoubtedly like you could even argue he's a top 5 player in the NHL.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 to like 8, 9, like that. But meanwhile, 2 years ago, you probably weren't thinking that. And it's like, yeah, if you think Makar could be the best, I mean, I don't really like. I kind of disagree, but I mean, I just think that the gap between Hughes and Makar is a lot less now than it was before. Like, I think some people legitimately think that Hughes is better. I disagree with them, but I mean, I don't think it's an insane take, to be honest. I think what Hughes has been doing recently has been like insane, man.
I think they're both pretty close. Like,
Yeah,
I still think Makar's a bit better in my books, but
that's
I don't
fair.
think it's as far off as it used to be. What was the question you had for me before we wrap things up
No, it
here?
wasn't a question, but we were talking about this is kind of like off topic of everything we were saying. But dude, I heard this on Daily Faceoff, and I was mind boggled. Okay, 3 different kind of stats this year in the NHL season that they all almost like contradict each other. Okay, so goal scoring overall is down this year, apparently for the first over the past. I think it's like 5 to 6 years on average at this point. These stats were from last Monday too, so I mean,
Okay.
shit has changed. So goal scoring in the NHL is down. Goaltending save percentage is down. I think on average of what it's been over the past, I think 11 years. They said, but power play percentages are the highest they've been in 35 years. So you've got goaltending save percentage down, scoring is somewhat down, but power play percentage is up. So, I mean,
That's
2 of those things make sense. One of them kind of contradicts it. Do you know what I kind of think it is, dude?
what do you think?
My guess is that the overall there's just less shots on net.
Yeah, I'm with you
Because
on that.
what else really makes sense?
Dude, I think it's that there's less I think it's that there's less shots on net, and the shots that are on net are a lot like the shots that they are getting on net are a
They're
lot
good fucking quality.
good, a lot better quality. Yeah.
Like I think you're looking at, okay, if you saw a 3-2 game now, the shots could be like 25 to 17. It's like not a lot of goals, but goalie save percentages look bad. It's probably 800
Yeah.
something. And I don't know about you, dude. Do you like before even seeing that stat? I kind of just felt like power plays this year are like way more lethal than they've been in years.
Yeah. And I
Like
think
I
it's
feel like
again
so
like
many more teams are scoring on the power play. So that stat makes a ton of sense to me.
I think again like with the power play, man, it's just like, dude, like how many times is it like they have one shot on the power play and it's a goal because they're just
Yeah.
zipping it around, and then you give it backdoor for a tap in or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I like you look at the Leafs last year in the playoffs where they were shooting it from the outside, shooting it from the outside, shooting it from the outside. I think a lot of teams are like really starting to get away from that and are like fuck putting all these shots on net if
Puck
Vass is gonna,
possession and just gain a better chance. The
yeah,
one team that still does that a lot is Carolina, but they play a
yeah.
totally different style than everyone else, right? They fire low quality shots to the net all the time.
But yeah, I'm with you on the shots thing, man. Like even like in fantasy this year, I have Vasilevsky in goal, dude. I'm telling you, man, there's been times it's like they win, like Tampa wins 3-2, and he is like fucking 18 shots on net, and since they won 3-2, like his save percentage is below
It's
900.
like 890 or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Dude, the
I'm
crazy
like
thing is too is Vasi's got like I saw this yesterday. Split the Habs. He's got a 915 this year, and that's current in goalies that have played at least 10 games this year. He's literally ranked 6th in save percentage with a 915.
yeah.
Like save percentage is down, and everyone's looking. You kind of have to look at goalies differently this year. Like honestly, like if a guy has like a 905, it's like another year they almost have like a 910 to 915.
Legit,
Like
if a
even with
goalie's like
Vasi
over,
too, like that's why Hellebuck's season is even more impressive to me.
oh yeah, it's Hellebuck's having an amazing season. Overall, though, I can't wait for Four Nations, dude. It's gonna be a blast watching. I know we're gonna be probably watching it at some point in the office together this week when we're both in, so we'll be watching it there.
Last
Next
thing,
episode,
Canada, Sweden. What's your prediction? First
Canada
game
Sweden.
score.
I'm going for the final score.
Yeah, final score, game one.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 5-3 Canada.
Bro, I was gonna say the same fucking thing.
Hey, say it, man.
Honestly, I was gonna say 5-3 or 5-2. I think that they'll probably get a couple goals, but I think Canada is probably gonna come out blazing right away. To be honest,
yeah, especially in front of the home fans, man. Like first international. This is a first like professional international hockey Canadians are going to be able to see on Canadian soil since the 2010 Vancouver Olympics.
Yeah.
Like
so happy Sid's fucking playing too, dude. Jesus.
It's fucking crazy, man. Like that's fucking crazy, dude. Like the players are gonna be fucking coming out for Team Canada here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a blast, dude. Overall, though, I don't know when our next episode's gonna be coming out. I'm on vacation down south next week, so
you gonna be able to watch it all, dude?
Oh yeah, I'm watching it. I got the
on
VPN
Hockey
download
TV.
and everything, so I'll be watching it. But we might be like a week and a half between this episode and our next episode, so stay tuned for that. But for everybody listening into this episode, thanks for tuning in.